This fight will be fought in the 155-pound division and will be an amateur bout contested over three-minute rounds. In the blue corner, Curtis Richard.
Really looking forward to this matchup at 155 pounds, an amateur fight in mixed martial arts. Coming out to the cage first, Curtis Richard, fighting out of United Fighter in Kenora, Ontario. He's got some experience under his belt, 4 amateur fights, but he's had a couple years off as he comes back to join us here at Rumble in the Cage 53 on Go Fight Live. Marty Mesita and Jeremy Valentine cage side to call all the action.
Another one of these guys who started their MMA career early, started right at 16 years old when he was fresh-faced. He says, he came up to me and says, do you remember when I was 16 years old and I looked like a young man? I said, Curtis, you still look pretty young. I could probably pass for 16. But he has opened his own gym, the Undisputed Fight Academy in Thunder Bay. So just working his way in, trying to spread mixed martial arts love to other people.
And a former Rumble in the Cage champion, Jesse Bongfeld, is trainer, one of the best to ever fight here in Lethbridge.
Well, and if you have a guy like Jesse Bongfeld in your corner, you're going to come into this fight definitely prepared. And Curtis Richard is no exception to any of the Bongfeld fighters.
Richard's last fight coming in June of 2014. He got a guillotine submission victory over Brett Letourneau. And back-to-back wins. Before that as well, another rear naked choke submission victory in April 2013 over Samuel Gettins de Silva, and then a TKO win over Joshua Ferguson in September 2012. So even though he's been off for a couple years, he brings some momentum with him into the cage.
And in the red corner, Seth Canagan.
His opponent this evening is Seth Canagan, fighting out of Complete MMA in Prince Albert. Born and raised in PA, he also has a 3-1 record coming in.
Well, when you have two guys with this good pedigree of mixed martial arts, you're really ready to step in and see a good fight between these two 3-1 fighters. And normally when fighters get around this record for their amateur career, they start thinking about turning professional. Talk to both of these guys and say, I'm not in any rush to turn professional. I want to make sure I'm a perfect mixed martial artist before stepping into the professional ranks.
And like his opponent this evening, Canagan, last fighting a couple of years ago and looking to bounce back from a submission victory or loss to Jared Funk. But his 2 fights before that, February 2014, he got an armbar submission victory over Steven Trocek, and then a triangle submission victory over Mike Doe in December of 2012. So we can see first man to submission wins possibly in this fight here.
Well, and anyone who has that many submission wins, and that variety of submission wins, a rear naked choke, you know, a triangle and an armbar, like he's just showing all aspects of jiu-jitsu, not just one specialty.
Send things up to cage announcer RK for the official
introducing first in the blue corner from United Fighter in Kenora, Ontario, with a record of 3 wins and 1 loss, Curtis Richard. And in the red corner, fighting out of Complete MMA in Prince Albert, Saskatchewan, with a record of 3 wins and 1 loss, Seth Canagan.
Rumble in the Cage 53, their next matchup at 155 pounds. It is Curtis Richard from Thunder Bay, Ontario, fighting out of United Fighter in Kenora, 3-1 record. He's 21 years of age, 6 feet tall, weighed in at 155 pounds, has the black trunks with white and red trim, the maple leaf on his trunks, fighting against Seth Canagan from Prince Albert, Saskatchewan, fighting out of Complete MMA, also a 3-1 record, 34 years of age. He's 5'10", weighed in at 155. He's in the mostly black trunks, and our official is Chris Vickery. And you can see the patience of a couple of fighters that have several fights under their belt. So we'll see. Richard does have the reach and height advantage over his opponent Canagan. And a straight right by Richard as Canagan tries to get a single leg.
When Canagan pushing him up against the cage, And again, Curtis Richard very calm. It looked like he was waiting on that right hand, expecting Canigan to come in. And as soon as the head movement started forward, that right hand was right there. That's a nice kick right back into the midsection from Curtis Richard.
Big left hand from Richard and a right hand on the chin. Canigan trying to kick away his charging opponent in Richard, but now they're up against the cage.
And look at how dynamic these strikes are from Curtis Richard.
Oh, big left hand to the body, followed up with a body kick by Curtis Richard. He's got some speed for all of his size.
And again, targeting the body and targeting that liver. You know, liver shots can end a fight right away. So if you continue to target them, eventually you're going to hit it. And it's really slowed Canigan down as well.
But a good left hand from Canigan as he presses forward. Backs Richard up momentarily. About a minute 15 left to go here in the first round. Between Seth Canigan and Curtis Richard.
That was good single leg defense by Curtis Richard. Had the whizzer, got the foot back down to the ground, and then turned in to get the open space.
And for every blow Canigan scores with, it's Richard with 3 or 4 in response.
Some blood coming from the nose of Curtis Richard, but I don't think he cares if he's going to continue to land.
Big right and left knee combination. He's got Canigan in trouble up against the cage.
But just punishing the body, I don't even think he's landed a significant shot to the head, but he continues to punish the body.
Right hand, Canigan in trouble here against the cage. Richard all over him. Right hand to the head now. Great work by Richard with 30 seconds to go in the first round.
Good front head and arm position again, trying to limit Canigan's ability to take him down. Now has the guillotine, pops it over, and gets top position. But Canigan able to come through now.
Richard with 10 seconds to go, trying to lock something in here late. And Canigan literally just trying to survive in the second round. And looks like he will. So great offense from Curtis Richard in the opening 3 minutes. And Seth Canigan needs to come up with a game plan for this second round.
Well, he's got to find a way to deal with those body shots because Curtis Richard has been punishing him to the body. Take a look at our featureproductions.ca replay. Here's the first leg attack that Canigan used to push Richard up against the end. And this is when the body assault started. These big shots to the liver, they're all being aimed right at that spot. There's another kick there. Canigan continues to come forward with these long shots, and that hurts to look at. That is a painful body shot from Curtis Richard.
Richard showing on his record a couple of submission victories, but he does have a TKO win as well. A well-rounded fighter, and fighting out of United Fighter in Kenora, Ontario, and Jesse Bonfeld. So we'll see what Canigan can come up with here in this second round. He needs to do a little bit more striking, a little less receiving, especially with the body blows that he absorbed in that opening 3 minutes.
And our excellent clue, cleaning up all the blood that's been pouring out of the nose of Curtis Richard. But again, I think he'd trade that nosebleed for all those body shots he got in round 1.
Yeah, it's Richard in the black trunks with the maple leaf on the left side, white and red trim. And Seth Canigan in the black, mostly black trunks. And Canigan pressing forward now. He knows he's got to get something going here. Trying his best to score some points. Easier said than done on Curtis Richard. Once again, our official for this match, Chris Vickery.
You can see Curtis Richard very patient. On that big exchange, he just tried to weather the storm and just tried to say, okay, you want to come forward that hard and waste all your energy early, I'll let you do it. And now just slowing the pace down, trying to own the center of the cage, which is very important, especially in a smaller cage like here at Rumble in the Cage.
Canigan trying to get inside of the reach of his opponent, inside leg kick, tries to go up high with the right hand. And Richard doing a good job of avoiding that straight to the head. Just over a minute gone here in the second round. Seth Canigan, Curtis Richard. Spinning back fist, narrowly missed. That leg kick mostly blocked, I believe. And a 1-2 by Canigan might have been a little low.
on a shot right to the groin. You know, we've been, you know, between us probably 100 mixed martial arts events that we've called from this position, and I swear there's one event we'll go through where somebody doesn't get hit in the junk.
So Richard taking some time to regroup, and he's ready to go again. Canigan offering an apology, and we're back at it here. Second round, 155-pound matchup in Rumble in the Cage 53. Canigan versus Richard.
Well, you notice the lower stance of Canigan now. He's trying to protect that liver. You see the elbow of his left hand is down low.
Now looking to attack the body himself is Seth Canigan. But it's one and done mostly for Seth right now. Very good defense in this matchup so far, shown by Curtis Richard. Left jab, big 1-2 combination by Richard. Canigan gets a leg kick in, and I'm not sure if that was an eye gouge. Looks like he got him in the eye.
Yeah.
Oh, unfortunate. Ouch.
Normally when a fighter goes down like that, that's a pretty significant eye shot.
Curtis Richard in some pain here. It's Chris Vickery checking in on the fighter.
And a lot of times fighters will paw out with their hands. They paw out with their hands at the same time as the opponent's coming in. They can get that shot to the eye. And from the reaction, that obviously had to be an eye poke. That, you know, I don't think it's anything else.
But Richard is back to his feet. It looks like he might be intent on continuing this matchup with his opponent Seth Canigan. So we'll see if we can get through this second round. Between Richard and Canigan, 30 seconds to go. There's the vote. Once again, Richard finding the body with the left hand. Canigan trying to get something going, but it's very hard to get within the defense of Curtis Richard right now.
Well, Curtis Richard only comes forward after Canigan does, so he's countering. He's not being the aggressive fighter, but anytime that Canigan comes forward, that's when Curtis is jumping on him.
He can kind of do that if he's had the better of the action through the first two rounds. Leg kick from Richard late in this second round. Tags Seth Canigan. Both these fighters at 3-1 coming into this matchup at Rumble in the Cage 53. We have a look at some of the second round action on the Feature Productions replay.
Well, that's that initial rush from Canigan, and it did do some damage. A couple of shots landed. And again, Canigan did a pretty good job throughout the fight. He was landing, or throughout this round part, he was landing. There's that shot that caught the groin.
Well, he certainly didn't absorb as much punishment as he did in the first round. That's the late 1-2 combination.
There's that eye poke. Yeah, and it definitely was an eye poke, and it was just a paw with that hand. Again, not intentional, but unfortunate nonetheless.
Well, as you know, Jeremy, anything can happen in the cage.
Anything can happen.
We've seen it. So far here tonight, a very entertaining lineup of fights here at Rumble in the Cage 53. And so we're going to get a third round between Seth Canigan and Curtis Richard. We're underway. It's Curtis Richard in the black trunks with the Canadian Maple Leaf up against Seth Canigan in the mostly red or black trunks. And it's again Richard backing up Canigan, presses forward, pushing Richard up against the cage.
And Canigan has been very aggressive earlier on in each of the rounds, and then as soon as Curtis Richard lands a counter jab, kind of slows Canigan down. Right now, Canigan doing a good job keeping Richard up against the cage. Has to watch out, and a bit of a modified arm throw there. Curtis Richard ending up in a position where he can get an armbar.
So, to the ground they go for the first time in this matchup. And now trying to work a choke. He's got that length.
It's such
Rolls
a hard
it over. That's a trouble position now for Seth Canigan in a world of hurt. But he's a veteran.
Canigan attacking that top hand and then putting the pressure down on it to prevent Curtis Richard from locking up either with the quick choke and now working his chin in. So good defense by Canigan there. Intelligence defense, even though Curtis Richard had that in and had it dead to rights.
Very nicely done by Seth Canigan getting out of that precarious position. He's not out of the woods yet. As Richard controlling the body with a triangle.
Now trying to work that choke in there as well. And you hear from Jesse Bongfeld, don't wear yourself out. Sometimes when you can get that choke, you try and squeeze it a little too tight and you end up in trouble because your arms get worn out. So just has to be patient here as Seth Canigan is working to defend that choke again.
Seth Canigan has shown a lot of heart here in this fight. Took a lot of punishment, especially to the body in that first round. Rallied a bit in the second, but now in trouble here in the third once again as Curtis Richard has had the better of it in this round. 1 minute to go, third round. Seth Canigan rolling over now. And it's Richard into the guard.
And he rolled through, and Richard did have, as he rolled through the first time, Richard had him on his back, but it was good slip through by Canigan. Canigan trying anything he can to just get away from this swarm of jiu-jitsu that Richard is offering.
Some nice moves by both fighters here late in this matchup. They've both haven't had a fight in a couple of years. It's certainly not showing.
And again, with 30 seconds to go, both these guys are going to try and put an exclamation point on this round. Swing and a miss.
Canigan's got to go for the fences with 15 seconds to go in this third round. Well, you never know what the judgment will be.
Stranger things have happened.
But all in all, a very impressive performance for Curtis Richard against a very tough Seth Canigan. At Rumble in the Cage 53, we're going to go to the judges' scorecards.
Well, in round one, that definitely belonged to Curtis Richard. In round two, that was a little more competitive. Round three, some takedowns, some attempts all over the place. And again, here's this modified, it was kind of like a fireman's throw that went through. But the problem is as he's doing the fireman's throw, left himself open for the armbar, which Curtis Richard then transitioned to this rear naked choke attempt.
And he had it under the chin for a while, but he couldn't get both arms locked up. And so good defense from Seth Canigan to survive that submission attempt.
When some fighters will panic when you get that arm around the neck, but Seth Canigan very, astutely attacked the move, attacked that top hand, ripped it off, and then worked his chin down, and it was excellent defense. And that's a really good sign from a fighter that they can remain combatively intelligent in that point.
Our judges tonight, Mike Peterson, Crystal Tutak, and Andrew Cole, tabulating things as we speak. Still have 5 fights left here at Rumble in the Cage 53. Talked a lot about our main events. Our pre-main event features a fight at 155 pounds between Kyle Coleman and another local favorite, Brendan.
Your winner by unanimous decision in the blue corner, Curtis Richard.
And so it's Curtis Richard with the unanimous decision here at Rumble in the Cage 53. A pillar to post, great performance for the fighter out of Thunder Bay, Ontario, and fighting now in Kenora under United Fire. And as we say, we got to mention, if you want to learn some of these moves, you can go to his gym, Undisputed Fight Academy in Thunder Bay.
Well, and Curtis Richard showing off some of that. The one thing in this fight that I think really made the difference was the early body shots from Curtis Richard. Landed so many in round one, and it just disrupted Canigan's game. He didn't have any opportunity to really do anything that he wanted to do because he just ate so many shots, and it really drains you in a fight.
Richard improving to 4-1 as an amateur, while Canigan will fall now to 3-2. Should mention the next Rumble in the Cage is